Fifth Third Bank, and by the support of these donors.
At Fifth Third, we believe when diverse voices are heard and empowered, communities are made stronger, lives are made better, and the future holds greater promise for all. That's why we're proud to support Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can drive change.
Good evening and welcome to Chicago Tonight Black Voices. I'm Brandis Friedman. Thanks for sharing part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight, a fight for transgender lives. The LGBTQ community speaks out after 2 black trans women are found dead. A multi-million-dollar grant to support freedom schools in Illinois. How the historical program is still being used today. And a preview of Fire Shut Up in My Bones, now playing at Lyric Opera. We hear from Grammy Award-winning composer Terrence Blanchard. First off tonight, members of the LGBTQ community are demanding answers after the recent deaths of 2 black transgender women. Tatiana LaBelle, also known as TT, was found in a trash can, beaten to death in the Chatham neighborhood on March 18th. Her death was ruled a homicide. One day later, Elise Mallory, a transgender activist, was found dead along the lakefront in Evanston a week after she was reported missing. The cause of her death remains under investigation. The Human Rights Campaign says at least 7 transgender people have been killed across the country this year alone. And 2021 was a record year of violence against transgender and gender nonconforming people, with 50 fatalities tracked. Joining us now are Zahara Bassett, founder and CEO of Life is Work, a nonprofit supporting transgender and non-binary persons of color on Chicago's West Side. Lasaya Wade, founder and executive director of Brave Space Alliance, a trans-led organization on the South Side, and Victoria Kirby York, deputy executive director of the National Black Justice Coalition. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Zahara Bassett, let's start with you, please. You were close with Elise Mallory. What do you want people to remember about her?
Elise was a beautiful soul. One that, and anyone that came in contact with her was a soul that you would always remember and hold on to forever. Her hugs were something that I just, even now today, I still wish that I can just get that last moment. It's kind of difficult having this conversation about Elise because I get a little emotional every time because it just seems like it's unreal. And it's still, none of it makes sense of it. And we don't have any actual, what happened. We still is sitting in uncertainty. So it's hard and difficult for me to talk about something that I just don't know what happened. Our last emails was she was excited to come this Thursday to our trans visibility and event. I'm going to pass it on.
And we're sorry for your loss. I understand that you were close with her. Lasaya Wade, these 2 deaths in 2022 are in addition to at least 5 black transgender women who were killed in Chicago in 2021. What is your reaction to this sort of alarming trend with this number of black transgender women being killed?
I have buried over 263 trans people throughout the work that I have done. And I have become slowly but numb to the situation of what's going on within the society that we service today. It's not shocking, but as we become more visible, as we become leaders of our own narrative, as we become these high stakeholders within our communities, and as we fight and change the narrative of trans and gender nonconforming people, this is just the beginning of what we will have to deal with in the upcoming futures. Elise was a good friend of mine, someone that was a healing spirit in Chicago, someone that when you hug her, you know you're going to be taken care of and you don't have to worry while you're with her. So this was an alarming and hurtful loss to our community here in Chicago and one of the pillars of the work in Evanston in the state of Illinois.
Sounds like from the both of you, at the very least, Elise was a good hugger, because it's one thing that you both mentioned. Victoria Kirby York, the National Black Justice Coalition, is issuing a warning for Chicago area women, specifically around violence against transgender people. What is that warning?
Well, when you look at the numbers across the country, as was shared, 50 trans women were murdered last year, a majority of them Black transgender women. And in Puerto Rico last year, they noticed that the numbers, similarly to Chicago, were building up in their community. And the governor there decided to do something that I think is needed in the state of Illinois, and especially in the Chicago region, not only in the city, but all of the adjacent counties as well. And that is to declare a state of emergency. When the governor of Puerto Rico did it, it was because there were 4 transgender women, as well as a number of cisgender women that were victims of gender-based violence and hate. We're seeing that same thing play out in this region, similarly to numbers that we're seeing in the state of Texas, and a couple other states that are really hot spots in this nation that we believe are not safe for Black trans women. And, you know, as the executive director of Black Trans Women Incorporated would say, Diamond Collier, for all Black women. And so we definitely want to sound the alarm. We've been ringing the alarm for a number of years following the late Monica Roberts' call on this issue. Yes, Transgrio, and really pushing government officials to not just pay lip service, but to put some action behind it. And the importance of a state of emergency is that resources, dollars, connections, and the bringing together of multiple governments, working together with community groups like the ones Zahara and Lasaya represent, to really make a real meaningful change when it comes to these numbers for prevention. We've already seen the numbers have had a decrease since there have been some federal actions taken across the country. Now we need state and local leaders to do their jobs.
And I want to come back to that, what we think state and local leaders could be doing. And specifically Mayor Lori Lightfoot, she was asked about violence against transgender women and how the city can do more on Thursday, which was Trans Day of Visibility. Here's what the mayor had to say at the time.
We all need to do more. We all need to do more to make sure that people who are members of the trans community are not vilified, that they're not ostracized, and that they are accepted into our families, into our community. We have to do more as a city, but really as a country. And we've got to stand tall with our trans brothers and sisters and make sure that they're getting exactly the kinds of support and acceptance that the rest of the gay and lesbian community has received through hard work, struggle, and advocacy. And as I said to somebody yesterday and thinking about today, we're not going to turn the clock back. We're moving forward. And that means a full embrace of our trans brothers and sisters.
Zahara, what do you make of the mayor's response to this?
What I make of it, a response is political language. I did not hear anything about how we bring justice to the murders, the unsolved murders of the Black, brown, trans people who are murdered across Illinois and the city of Chicago. And that's where I am concerned if that's not part of your plan. If we cannot bring these murders to justice, then you are not helping us. We are already building community. We are doing the work on the part of making sure that we're protected in our communities. We need to be protected of what the dollars we're spending out of our checks to pay for these salaries. We want to see justice for our sisters and our brothers as our ancestors now. And in order for them to rest peacefully, in order for us to heal wholly, is to see justice done. We hear a lot of lip services. We hear a lot of support trans people, and absolutely we receive some of that support, but you can support us more by putting together a task force, and particularly to bring some of these murders to close.
Lasaya, thank you. Lasaya, I wanted to ask you as well. Brave Space Alliance, you all also held a rally for trans lives, but that was on Thursday as well. But what action would you like to see from city leaders?
First and foremost, in the past few years, when we try to keep our hold of her accountable, she has yet to do such. She didn't come out with a statement until we had the rally, because we know how we are connected in the community on Thursday. Third and foremost is, in the past 20 years in the historical understanding of Chicago, only one trans murder was solved due to the fact that BSA put a foot forward in helping that murder being solved. And it continues to be the same lip service that she continues to give to the LGBT population, explicitly within the trans population. There was a case that happened 2 years ago when a black trans woman was murdered, and there was only one detective on there. But a white person that was in the LGBT population, there was 64 detectives that was on that case, and he was only hurt. So there is a big disparity when it comes to equity in Chicago at a whole. As we continue to serve Chicago completely as a whole at BSA, we continue to see this inequity around pay and around how the money moves throughout Chicago, and it is not seen equitable on the west and south side of Chicago. So what she is saying is completely lip service, because that's her job to do, but yet we have yet to see the work of what she needs to be doing to protect us. So we are at a state of emergency. Quit talking and start doing.
And Victoria Kirby York, we've got about 20 seconds. Any other steps that you'd like to see localities implement?
They need to use the proper names, photos, and pronouns immediately when EMS, detectives, police, and media cover these cases. It's impossible to investigate and solve a murder if you're using bad data and bad information. You're not going to get the tips that you need. And if you don't have restorative justice sentencing options, you're not going to see members of the Black community turn on each other if we don't believe that true justice is going to be played out throughout the system.
That's where we'll have to leave it. My thanks to Zahara Bassett, Lasaya Wade, and Victoria Kirby York for joining us. And we're back with more Chicago Tonight Black Voices right after this. And nonprofits across Illinois will be getting access to millions of dollars in funding for Freedom Schools, the first state-funded network of freedom schools in the country. Right now, there is just one in Chicago and two others in Illinois, established through the Children's Defense Fund, an organization that began creating freedom schools nationwide in 1995. Today's schools are inspired by the 1964 Freedom Summer Project, when volunteers went to Mississippi to teach Black students how to read and write and learn lessons around constitutional rights and African American history. Most are 6-week summer programs that supplement day-to-day school, but some programs offer after-school lessons as well. And joining us with more are Cecily Thomas, a teacher and project director for Champaign Freedom School, Ashley Moore, project director of the Springfield Urban League's Freedom School program, and State Senator Kimberly Lightford, who championed the bill. Thanks to all three of you for joining us. State Senator Lightford, let's start with you, please. This is a $17 million grant, making it the first state funding that is being used to support and create freedom schools. Why do you think this is important?
Oh, this is extremely important. First, let me just thank you for having this discussion, bringing awareness to your viewers. This is extremely important because we know that through the years, freedom schools have provided that additional supplemental support that our children need. And with the significant loss of academia in the classroom, I found it very important to ensure that African American children had an opportunity to receive more civic engagement and leadership, mentorship, and just learning of African American history. And so it's really important to help engage our young people.
Cecily Thomas, as someone who's worked in a freedom school for some years now, you serve as a project director. What was your reaction to this additional funding?
I was extremely excited and trying to figure out how we could get our hands on some of this money so that we can expand our reach. Right, currently we serve 50 children. And so with something like this, we would have the capacity to do so much more. we believe that every child deserves a freedom school. And so this would definitely be helpful for that.
And Ashley Moore, same question to you. What do you think of this funding and this announcement?
Oh, here downstate in Springfield, we're extremely excited. Traditionally, the Springfield Urban League has had the CDF Freedom School for the past 15 years. And every summer we serve anywhere from 130 to 150 scholars with a wait list of anywhere to 75 to 100 students. So we're super excited to be able to expand and build on the program that we already have in place through this funding.
That wait list that you just mentioned, you know, the fact that you've got so many students and families on it, what does that tell you about the need for the Freedom School?
Oh my goodness, it's a proven model. It works. We stopped learning gaps that happened over the summer. We're providing a healthy, culturally aware environment for the students. It's very successful, and it's a tremendous need within the community here in Springfield and throughout the state of Illinois.
Senator Lightford, who qualifies for this funding and what is expected of those organizations and schools that receive the grant?
Well, the Philip Jackson Freedom School grant application is now open. The deadline is the end of April, and it's to offer public schools and universities, community colleges, not-for-profit organizations, and community-based organizations to build those collaborations, because as one of the previous speakers just said, we know that it works. And our goal is to make sure that when we establish freedom schools, they're built to supplement the learning that's taking place in our public schools. And our goal is to expand the teaching of African American history and to develop those leadership skills, and to also provide the understanding of the tenets of the civil rights movement. And so I'm really excited to present this statewide and through our public school system in partnerships with our non-for-profit organizations and with our libraries, our park districts. So it's really a wide spectrum so that we can really collaborate and get the community involved.
And to that end, Senator Lightford, who are freedom schools for? What children should be in freedom schools?
All children, if they're behind in a particular subject and they need supplemental support, we want those students. If they're engaged and wanting to learn more about African American history, they want to develop leadership skills, they want to be mentored, their parents feel that they need that additional support, we want those students who exceed and do very well. We want to push those students. We want every student who wants to have an opportunity to expand their horizons and benefit in what a freedom school can do to help them in their lives. We're wanting them to apply. We're wanting these communities to set up programs. There's $17 million to set aside for freedom schools across the state. It's the absolute first in the nation state-funded freedom school network.
And Cecily, what can a student get out of a freedom school that maybe they are not getting from their everyday public schooling?
Well, one story that I always tell when I'm asked a question about this, my son, who is 8 years old, he went to freedom school for the first time last summer. And we did family pictures one year, and we wore dashikis, like he had on dashiki, and he hated the shirt. Like hated it. He never wanted to wear it. After a week at freedom school, he picked out his own clothes and he picked out a dashiki to wear. And so that just says so much to me about how freedom school in just 1 week influenced him and made him feel, proud to be a Black boy. And he didn't just pick that shirt for no reason. He picked that shirt because he understood what it represented and how it represented him as a Black boy, and how strong and how powerful and how smart he is. And so that's the story that really stands out to me, that I will always share about what kids can get out of freedom school. The reading absolutely is great, but just knowing that a child can leave there knowing that they are beautiful, that they are strong, that they are important, that's the message that we strive to send our kids every day, and the message that we hope they take with them everywhere they go.
And Ashley, briefly give us a sense of the teachers. Who are the teachers who are educating the young people in these programs?
Sure. So the integrated reading curriculum is actually facilitated by servant leader interns who are college age students. These students come from any educational background. We've had students who are going into teaching, medical school, law school, just students with a passion to serve and give back to the community. So our classes are taught by college age interns, and we refer to them as servant leader interns.
What do you think? Of course, this is called, the Philip Jackson Freedom School Grant, and this was part of the state's Education and Workforce Equity Act that was passed last March. Ashley, what role would you say the Freedom Schools play in achieving educational equity and closing the achievement gap that we know so much about?
Just given our tenure with the program and the amount of years that we've had, we see the results. We have students who are first-time college graduates who have come through our Freedom School program and started as first graders in the program are actually graduating from college this year. We've had many times where they share their successes and their stories, not only the scholars, but also their families, just the support that they have received each year through the Springfield Urban League's Freedom School. So our students, our scholars, our alumni, that's our results. That's our proof that the Freedom School model works and it has proven results.
And Senator Lightford, remind us who Philip Jackson is and why this grant is named for him before we let you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Philip Jackson, it was an amazing man who loved children, loved to educate small Black boys, loved to bring families together, particularly Black men taking their children to school on the first day, walking their children to school, what he was known for. He created the Black Star Project in 1996. I was honored to meet him in 1999, and we began to do programs throughout the city to provide academic excellence for almost 20 years. And so he was just a stellar, dependable, committed, diligent man as it related to improving academic outcomes for Black children.
Okay, Cecily Thomas, Ashley Moore, State Senator Kimberly Lightford. We look forward to seeing more of these, to talking about it when more of these schools begin rolling out. Thanks so much to the three of you for joining us.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
And we're back with more Chicago Tonight Black Voices right after this.
Don't miss one of our stories. Get them all delivered to your desktop or mobile device with a subscription to the WTTW News Daily Briefing. Go to WTTW.com/daily briefing and sign up.
Lyric Opera of Chicago is debuting a powerful story of hurt and healing. It's based on a memoir by longtime New York Times columnist Charles M. Blow. Composed by Terrence Blanchard, the story explores how Blow works to heal from traumatic incidents of abuse in his childhood. Arts correspondent Angel Edo sat down with the Grammy Award-winning jazz artist and composer, who shares how he hopes this production will serve as a catalyst for more Black stories in opera.
Try to write music that's healing for people, because that's what music's done for me.
This was one of the many goals of Terrence Blanchard as he worked to compose Fire Shut Up in My Bones over the course of 2 years. Based on the memoir by Charles M. Blow, Fire Shut Up in My Bones explores Blow's traumatic adolescent years growing up in Louisiana. He spends his formative years processing being molested by a family member, ultimately teetering back and forth between revenge and acceptance.
Because if you hear this story, then you see where he is now and understand what he's gone through, then it really is a testament to his strength.
It was after its debut at the Metropolitan Opera, prior to its lyric debut, that Blanchard heard from Blow firsthand about how his work had been received.
He said, I realized that's not me anymore. That's the reason for doing the opera. Him saying that, putting it out there, hopefully there's some other person who's struggling with some issues that could read that and go, oh, okay, if I keep working, hopefully I'll have my Charles Blow moment. You don't know who you're touching, out there, and you hope that it helps a lot of people to deal with their issues, because it spoke to the power of art that sometimes we take for granted.
But for Blanchard, this story isn't just about sharing Blow's experience as a Black man, but about sharing a Black experience in an opera.
Man, when the college kids open up, I think it's the third act or something like that, just with the step sequence, just when they walked on stage, they got a standing ovation. There are a lot of young African-American voices who are making their debuts because of this thing. And it's something I'm proud of, obviously, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You know what I mean? It shouldn't take my project to do that for them.
Whether it be from the audience or on stage, Blanchard says he hopes people leave realizing how much the world needs more relevant stories like this one.
One person came up to me afterwards, and he was trying to speak, but he was crying so much he couldn't speak. And he just kept saying, the world needs to see this. The world needs to see this.
For Chicago Tonight Black Voices, I'm Angel Ito.
And as previously mentioned, this opera originally debuted at the Metropolitan Opera in New York, making this the first opera by a Black composer to be performed at the Met. You can see it here at Lyric Opera of Chicago through April 8th. The PBS Great Performances presentation of Fire Shut Up in My Bones premiered on WTTW Friday, but you can still see it online by visiting WTTW.com/watch. And that's our show for this weekend. Please be sure to check out our website for the very latest from WTTW News. And if you're watching us on Saturday night, know that you can also catch Black Voices and Latino Voices on Sundays beginning at 10 p.m. And join me and Paris Schutz next week at 7 on Chicago Tonight. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Black Voices, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thanks for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that's proud to serve its community through pro bono legal services.